start, Andy.
We'll start with
So will I get the first opening statement, first question?
Okay. Well, thank you guys. Thank you all for being here tonight. My name is Andy Farmer. I'm with Construction. I serve as board president for Downtown Vision. And with me tonight is Nicole Lucas. First and foremost, I'd like to thank our sponsors for this evening. Our sponsors tonight is the Garden City Area Chamber of Commerce, Garden City Telegram, and Downtown Vision. I'd also like to extend a thank you on to the City of Garden City for allowing us to use their facilities tonight to host this forum. So the format for tonight's event is we will open up with a 2-minute opportunity for each one of you candidates to give your thoughts. So we'll start with you, Jeff, and then we will go kind of clockwise around the table. But then after that, I have a list of some prepared questions that we will go through, and we'll have 2 minutes each to answer those questions. And again, we'll rotate who starts answering, and then the person will go around the table answering those questions. Those prepared questions we have for you tonight were submitted to either the Chamber of Commerce's Government Affairs Committee, they were or submitted to the Garden City Telegram, or just gathered from the community of Brockton. If we get through all of the prepared questions tonight, and we have some time left, we have some note cards on the podium here. Members of the audience are more than welcome at any point in the evening tonight to get up and fill out a question you may have. You can raise it up in your hand, and Steve Dyer will collect them. And as we get through the questions, if we have that opportunity later this evening, we will go through some of those questions as well. We'll wrap it up by giving you all 1 minute at the end to give some closing remarks. As you can see, Steve Martinez is not here tonight. He did submit an opening statement, which when we get to him, I will read, and then we'll continue with you all for the questions. So with that, Jeff.
Well, by way of introduction, my name is Jeff Crest, and I'm running, if it's a platform, because I believe in excellence in education. I spent 12 years on the board that just left this room, and I'm now seeking a second term. I want to be re-elected because I would like to continue the work of providing affordable opportunities for academic, for vocational, for technical degrees, certifications and training for both traditional and non-traditional students. I am and always have been an avid proponent of education, and I view Garden City Community College as a valuable asset to the community. I take a measure of pride in what has been accomplished during my tenure on the board, and I hope to continue to serve the community at large and the college for another term. Good things are happening at Garden City Community College, and I would like to continue to play a part in the bright future I believe is ahead.
Thank you.
I'm here tonight because I believe in Garden City Community College. For about 40 years, I've been involved in Garden City Community College in all aspects. I think the future is bright, but I also think we should be cautiously optimistic about that future. I moved to Garden City January 1976. Garden City had the reputation of being the most growing, fastest growing and most progressive city in western Kansas. Then the 80s hit. We built a lot of houses, we were growing and progressing, and the economy slowed. Housing slowed. Crime rate went to 20%, and the farm economy was struggling. Our future, though bright, must be approached with caution. I know that there are people who will poo-poo the idea that we may be facing a slowdown in our economy, but I think that's something we need to be aware of. I know that there are those that think there will never be a tomorrow. There is always going to be a tomorrow. All right? The future, though bright, needs to be approached cautiously. Pros and cons need to be discussed before any final decision is made. Decisions about the future of Garden City Community College is too big of a job to be delegated to one person. Royalty revenues have been cut in half. That means there's less tax dollars to spread around. We're starting to see layoffs. Cattle market is in line for a decline. and the cattle people will tell you, we're in the right place for a correction. How far, how much, we don't know. Water tables are declining. It's going to affect the farm economy. And I'm not convinced that we're out of a drought. When the economy starts to slow, the board needs to have done their due diligence to be prepared for whatever the future brings. I believe I can provide the leadership in that area, and I don't want to wake up the idea that we have overextended ourselves and have no way of repaying the debt without having to raise taxes. I hope that we haven't gone there already.
Thank you. As I mentioned before, Mr. Martinez could not be with us tonight, so he prepared a statement in advance, and I'll read that at this time. Hello, my name is Stephen Martinez. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to present my purpose for seeking election to the Garden City Community College Board of Trustees. I apologize for not being able to attend this forum in person. I made a prior commitment to my family to attend my grandmother's 87th birthday celebration in Florida. I was born and raised in Garden City. I am a 1987 graduate of Garden City High School and graduated from Garden City Community College in 1993 with a criminal justice degree. I am married to Cami Martinez and have 2 daughters, Ashley and Tracy Martinez, and 1 granddaughter. I am seeking the position because I believe the education is the key to success. Garden City Community College is a great institute, and I believe I could assist in continuing the traditions and opportunities in preparing students, not only from Southwest Kansas, but nationwide and internationally, to become successful, productive members of the community. My goal is to make well-informed decisions that aid the success of students, faculty, and staff of Garden City Community College. I am a sergeant with the Finney County Sheriff's Office and have been a deputy for over 21 years. I am currently serving as a board member of Finney County United Way and Real Men, Real Leaders, a mentoring program for Hispanic youth. I have previously served as a board member for the Garden City Rec Commission and Big Brothers Big Sisters. I believe my service to these organizations proves my commitment and passion to serve and improve the quality of life for the citizens of our community. If elected to the Board of Trustees, I will continue these efforts to serve Garden City Community College. Thank you for your support.
I am running for the Board of Trustees to hopefully continue my term. I've served on the board for 9 years, and it's really been a privilege to me to be part of the leadership of our community college, because it is a community college. I feel like it's really important that we try to give back to our community as much as we can. I've learned a lot from being on the board, and I think it is definitely a learning process to be a good board member. I feel it's important to be committed to the college and to what's best for our owners, our community members. I try to be very fiscally responsible because I'm a taxpayer and I don't want to see my taxes go up. I'm proud of the fact that we have excellent reserves of our funds that we have put aside in case of problem economy, and we definitely recognize that state budget cuts have already impacted us. So I feel like being fiscally responsive and responsible is a big part of my job. A big part of my job is to be responsive to community members and not to always make my opinion the important thing. My opinion reflects what other people tell me and is important to them. So I feel like I'm here to represent the community, and I feel like it's a privilege, and I hope to have another 4 years to do that.
Thank you. Thank you all for your statements. We're going to move now into the question portion of tonight's agenda. So with that, I do have some prepared questions, like I said. Jeff, since you opened up, Leonard, I'll direct this first question to you. Again, you'll all have 2 minutes per question. If the state's higher education budget continues to get tighter, do you support raising fees and or tuitions to fill the budget gap, or would you favor making cuts to the college's budget?
I don't like to raise fees. I don't like to raise taxes. I don't really know the right answer to that, but I think it's something that needs to have a lot of study by the board and those folks that are responsible for it before any decision is made whether they're going to raise fees or taxes or cut programs. I don't like cutting anything. I think you got to look at all the coals in the fire before you make any decision. You got to weigh the pros and the cons. And you don't just look at the bright coals. You look at those that are covered with ash and you kind of knock the ash off, see how bright they're shining. So to answer your question, I don't know that I have an answer for you. I'm not in favor of cutting things. I'm in favor of studying it before you make any cuts and make the right decision.
Okay, thank you.
I think we're fairly fortunate that we are not at the mercy of state budget to a large degree. It's about 13% of our current annual budget. So when they make cuts, we don't have a heart attack like some schools have to. But it does impact us. I don't think anybody wants to raise taxes. You'd never get anybody saying that. We understand that our constituents have limited amounts of money. And looking at our previous mill levy, you can see the budget increase and the tax increases have gone very small, very slow increments. We've had good fortune that our staff and faculty are willing to make cuts in their budget. You know, they're doing without new equipment, remodeling, different items that they'd like to have. So we have made budget cuts already. And I think there's usually a place you can cut a little bit more. Raising fees and tuition, interestingly, does not increase our budget amount that much. When we make small increases, it may amount to $50,000, $80,000. It's not enough to go start a new program. It's not enough to build a new building. It's simply to help offset some of the small amounts the budget has been cut by the state. So a combination of all of those things is usually what's in order. Just like in people's homes, they know that they can turn up the air conditioning a little bit, they can maybe eat out less often, they can put off buying a new car, but they do have to pay their bills. So we recognize that we have to be very creative.
Well, if you look at revenues by source, student tuition and fees net 5% of the revenues by source that the college takes in. Property taxes, on the other hand, are 46% of the revenues. So like Terry said, your student tuition and fees, in terms of percentages, are probably not going to be nearly as significant as property taxes. But no, I could not, I have not in my tenure, I'll mention it in my closing statement, I could not support raising taxes. The reasons for which, again, in my closing statement, I will explain. But the school has very reasonable student and tuition fees. It's just anyone that runs a business or runs a household has to balance their budget. If it was a choice of raising taxes and tuition or cut programs, I would say we would, raising fees. I believe we have to look at the fees first, and then we'd have to look at cutting programs. But again, when you look at cutting programs, as a proportion of total revenue, most programs that you would look at would be relatively insignificant in terms of total revenue. Okay. Raise fees if we have to, and cut programs, but don't raise taxes.
Thank you. Terry, what role do you see vocational training playing in Garden City Community College's future?
It's already a huge role because we have a very vocational economy. We do want to make it accessible for people to start their baccalaureate degree in Garden City and transfer or continue it locally if they need to. But some people just aren't set up for a baccalaureate degree. Some people just want to be an LPN, or they want to be a hairdresser, or they just need a short-term certificate program so they can get a raise in their job that they have now. So vocational work is critical. We are on the forefront of training people. We have a new welding program, we have John Deere, we have an automotive program, we have ammonia and refrigeration, and a lot of other vocational programs. We have tasked a whole department of vocational education to improve that. And we're always looking at new programs. We're trying to be responsive to what people in the community need.
Thank you.
Well, it's going to play a significant role. I agree that it plays a big role already. If you look at the monolith of public education, I'll talk K-12, 25 years ago, and I'm estimating on that time, we began to see a move away from vocational technical to technology. And so what had to go in your school districts when you brought in banks of computers, small gas engines, welding, plastic, woodworking, all of those had to go. I can give you, well, let's say this, Manhattan Technical College can provide you with a list of probably 30 careers that with no college education or little college education background, you can make a very good living. I think that vocational technical education is going to be significant at all levels of education, more significant than it is, more significant than it has been. Not everyone wants to go to college. Not everyone needs to go to college. Not everyone should go to college. I was at a meeting where a published author was speaking, giving a presentation, and she said, I confess I've been very successful at what I do, but she was talking about being job snob. She said, we don't want to be job snob. She said, I was at a meeting in Montana where she lives. She said, I looked around the room, said, told my husband, I said, everybody that's anybody is in Montana here. And he said, he never even looked at me. He replied, yes, but the only number on my speed dial is my plumber. So I believe vocational technical education is try to find a brick mason, try to find a handyman. It is a big part of what the future in education is. I think the college is doing a wonderful job, but I see those, just by default, I see those expanding. If we're going to dovetail into some of the things public education K-12 is doing, well, let's say the high school is doing. If you look at what they've done up there, culinary arts and some of those things, a lot of these kids can come right out and go into the workplace.
Thank you. Senator?
I agree with what they both said. A four-year formal degree is not for everybody, so you need to be able to provide some kind of a career development program for them. I think when you start looking at trade schools, as we will call them, or whatever, you have to realize that the upstart costs of anything new is going to be a lot more expensive than just putting in an algebra program or something like that. Also, being in Garden City area, you have to realize that we don't have the mass of people to pull from that they have in Kansas City. So you have to weigh out how much is it going to cost to get this program started, what's our potential for adding students to it. I'm in favor of having career development vocational school programs. I just think there needs to be a lot of thought gone into it before you implement anything new. And maybe those that we have right now need to be evaluated whether they are making their way. But I would say, in answer to the question simply, I think it's a very important role. Vocational training is a very important role in the future of not only this college, but in the future of this country. Well, look at the technology that we have out there today. Shoot, I don't even hardly know how to run a cell phone, but these kids do, and they're going to progress beyond that. Are we going to be able to keep up with them?
Okay, thank you very much. Jeff, from new athletic facilities to new student housing, the college has had its share of new development in recent years. What do you think the next phase of development should be at Garden City Community College?
Well, as college grows, there will always be a greater need for student housing. So in my opinion, as far as facilities, I think that the need that comes to the forefront is student housing. You bring a young man or a young woman into the community college from someplace else on a scholarship, academic, athletic, you are asking those parents of that young man or that young woman to put their trust in you. If they can be in an environment where they are on campus and where they are supervised, and I'm not just talking about scholarship students, I'm talking about any student, any parent that sends their student to college. When our daughter went to college, we were very pleased the college she went to still required freshmen to live in the dormitories on campus. That changed a little bit because it's been a long time since we've been in any dormitories. But having said that, I think we need to provide a safe environment. We have campus security. I would say, in my opinion, student housing is the #1 concern that we probably should be talking about. The college, and again, the caveat here is student housing needs to be funded by student fees, tuition. I'm not suggesting that we raise taxes or even, I think a bond issue, but some way of self-financing. I believe the college owns property where we can do that. So student housing is my #1 issue.
Okay. Leonard?
I would echo that probably student housing is one of the first things that come up. But my question would be, and I would want somebody to answer to me before I agree to put in new student housing, with the technology that's going on today and with the people that are working online, how many people are actually going to be coming to campus to get an education, and how many are actually going to be living or needing a room on campus? I think probably housing is an important thing, but again, I'm a cautious person, and I would prefer that we do some analysis on how many people are really going to be coming in the next 5, 10, 15 years that want to live on campus and get their education, as opposed to going online, doing the work at home. A lot of people aren't comfortable doing their work at home. I don't know. But nobody's ever given me a good answer of how many people we can expect to have in the future on campus.
Thank you.
New development can take a lot of different forms and shapes. I think our development, not just on campus, but our online community of learners is going to expand. So we're going to have to look at, do we have adequate infrastructure? And I'm not a technology person, so forgive me. I don't know about fiber and all the different connections we need, but I do know we need the technology. So we're really looking at how we're going to expand our development for our online community of learners, because that is just, it's going to take off like crazy. We are looking at program development locally, but I think it may just involve kind of shifting where things are to a certain degree, maybe doing some remodeling, but probably not going to be on the scale of building new buildings. I think any chance we have to acquire property, we need to think about that, because they don't make more ground, and we don't know where we're going to be 20 years from now. But if we need property to build on, we should think about that. We do have a finite amount of physical space. So anytime we get the chance to look at new property, we should be very thoughtful about that. And we have made some purchases in the last few years, and they've turned out to work out well for us. Student housing, of course, is an issue. We have to have a place to put students that want to live on campus. And there's still room for that college experience. And if you live on campus, you get to be a college student and enjoy all the things that go with that. So we are probably going to have to either remodel or rebuild our dorms, at least part of them, because they're aging and the facilities are really not, they're not conducive to what students want now. And we have to be responsive to the people that are paying the bill.
All right. Thank you very much for that answer. Leonard, what is your knowledge of the student climate on campus, and what, if any, changes do you think are necessary to improve quality of student life?
You know, I spend a lot of time with the students. There isn't anybody that goes to any more athletic events than I do. I drive the bus for them. I spend a lot of time going around campus. I talk to a lot of them. I think the climate is good. I think they're pretty well happy with the way things are. I suppose you could always find things to improve, like student unions and things like that, more activities that they could go to the union and do. But as far as the climate of the student, I think they're happy with what they have there. I don't find any of them hardly ever voicing any discontent with anything. I think one area that could be done to improve things a little bit better is I've been advised by some teachers who work at night and have to walk to their car at night that probably the lighting on campus could be improved to give them a little better feeling of safety. Now I visited with Rodney Dozier today, and he's ahead of the police force, and there really not been anything happen. There was one minor case of the abuse or something. It turned out that it wasn't there. So I think they're doing a really good job of helping the students feel safe. The only thing I would say is maybe the issue of lighting needs to be addressed. Better lighting when they're going to their cars at night.
Okay. Terry, good question.
Student climate. Probably, you know, as adults, we think about what is a college experience. And you think about that traditional student, that 18, 19, 20-year-old, maybe our experiences, for those of us that went to a traditional college, are a little bit different than what they are now. Students don't always need the same facilities. And we're getting a remodeling process coming up in the student center, and we're going to put in a internet cafe. You know, that kind of thing never existed 20 years ago. We need places for students to gather, and I think we're trying to work on improving that. Putting in the new football and track facility and soccer stadium was a little bit controversial because people said, why are you doing that? Why are you spending the money on that? But it's part of the collegiate experience. Yes, it's great for our athletics. It's a top-notch facility and can accommodate a lot of different athletics. But it's a student experience, it's a community experience, and it gives people a good chance to interact with students. So I think working toward things like that is smart. We need to think about what is the experience, what attracts students, why do they want to come here, and maybe why do they stay here. It's the student climate.
Could you repeat the second half of that question? Or just could you repeat the whole question?
Yeah. What is your knowledge of student climate on campus, and what, if any, changes do you think are necessary to improve the quality of student life?
Well, I don't know about current changes. I have to echo the sentiment. I think the student climate is good. A college classmate of mine, when he took his daughter to a major university, went through orientation with her, and they have phones that are spread throughout the campus. At that time, they have warnings about walk-in groups, you know, for students to be walking at night in groups. I mean, the environment, just as a culture has changed, certainly in the last 40 years. I think that certainly in terms of safety, the environment that we provide here at the community college, we have just recently, in my tenure, gone to a campus police force. These are licensed officers. These are men who, frankly, they have the authority and the right to carry firearms. I think that as far as attitudes that students have, I don't judge that there is a great deal of dissatisfaction. We have a very active student government association. We have a lot of activities. We have a beautiful campus. We have a lovely community. As far as things in the near future that could be improved, I do believe still that, you know, I'm like Terry, our dorms are culturally what people and young people would live in 30, 40 years ago is different from what they'll live in today. So beyond cosmetics, I go back to, I think our addressing some of the student housing deficiencies, for lack of a better term. And I'm not certainly sitting here and saying that they're bad. I'm just saying there's a different standard that sets today, that's set today. Even the military recognizes that. They have said, you know, that the soldier, the serviceman in the service today won't live in the same type of housing and situations that they lived in 40 years ago. Okay.
Thank you. Terry, in general, having heard the opinions and views of the community, is the Garden City Community College campus viewed as being friendly and or safe? What have you heard, and how has what you've heard influenced what you would see as priorities for the college?
That's a two-part question.
It is two-part.
How is the campus viewed?
Yeah. Is the campus viewed to be friendly and safe? And what have you heard, and how has what you've heard influenced what you see as priorities for the college?
You know, I think as far as established community members, Garden City Community College has been, it's an institution in this community for 100 years. It's been around so long. People are just used to it being there. Maybe if they're not involved in it, they don't think that much about it. I hear positive comments about it. Anytime the mill levy changes, you hear some negative things. But overall, people see it as an asset. They say, my kids went to school there, or my grade school kids might go to school there. You know, it's expensive to go to college these days. Let's keep them here at home. So I think people just view it as a resource that is entrenched in our culture. There's no way to separate it. Because the people that work at our college are my neighbors, my friends. The people that teach at that college, they're my community members, my church members. So I think there's a very positive view of the situation, of the college. Second part of the question?
How has what you've heard influenced what you would see as a priority for the college?
As far as a priority, keeping the college strong, keeping our budget low, keeping our reserves in place. Nobody wants to be hit with a big tax bill or a sudden cut of crucial services. Nobody wants to see layoffs of our teachers and our staff. So we need to be careful about the money we spend. But we need to be responsive to our community for the services they want. If a whole lot of people say, we need hotel and restaurant management, then we need to be thoughtful how we can put that in place. So that's our job.
Is the campus friendly? I believe so. Every indication that I get from community members, and I know there are a number of staff here, I believe, yes, the campus is a friendly campus. Is the campus safe? I believe it's safe. I guess the caveat here is it's as safe as it's ever been with the steps that have been taken. It is the world that we live in, that we have to have a campus police department, that was the right decision. I really believe that, as evidenced by anyone that listens to the news and you know, the incidents that happen in college environments. So friendly, yes. Safe as it can be. I don't know what else we could do. You know, technology will allow you to do a lot of entry and access and egress type of, you know, doors, electronic keypads, those sorts of things. Sure, if you had the money to throw at that, you could make this campus probably about as safe as Fort Knox. But I don't know any college or university that does. But again, I reiterate it. Is it safe? It's safer than it's ever been, and I believe right now it's as safe as it can be. Is it the priorities for the college? If I'm understanding that question right, you're talking about priorities in terms of what I might have heard from the community? Is that right?
Yeah, based off the opinions and views you've heard in the community, what would you see as a priority for the college?
Well, there'll always be facilities priorities. You know, in that respect, the need always outstrips the resources that you have to meet that need. I think a continued priority of the board is to grow the college. There are 19 community colleges in the state of Kansas. Some of those are struggling mightily. You want to position yourself, and understand how I'm saying this, to be the last man standing. And so the decisions that we make today are decisions that we need to say 10 years down the road, we're going to look back and say, oh, it was a good decision.
Okay, thank you very much. Leonard, one question.
I kind of think I addressed that earlier. I think that the campus is safe. I think Rodney Dozier does a good job in his force. I like it when I go to the events and I see security around, and I can go to the football games, and whether it's off-duty deputies or the people that we've hired, I like seeing that. I think the campus is safe. The only thing I would say is, I'm going back to the point, maybe we need better lighting on campus, so when you're walking to your car at night, at 10 o'clock at night, or even if you're coming in from being out on the town at 12 o'clock at night, that you have lighting to get to your dorm or your car or wherever you're going. But as far as what I see as safety out there, I think the campus is safe.
Next question is for you, Jeff. Explain your familiarity and or relationship to the college and its mission to serve the community.
My familiarity with it is all of my children attended the community college. Now, my daughter graduated from there, my wife graduated from there. I have been an active supporter of the college, and I've already forgot the rest of the question.
You explain your familiarity explain your familiarity and relationship in regard to the mission
Oh, the
to
mission.
serve the community.
Okay, if you look at the college, I talked with James Tangeman, who was the president. It's been 17 years ago, and I remember that very clearly because we talked about the issue of the mandate of the community college is different from the mandate of the Regents College. The mandate of the community college is to serve this community in a way that allows employers to come to that college and say, I need skilled labor, I need a skilled labor force, I need training, I need certification, someone that can weld, someone that can, fix a computer, whatever that may be. So understanding that the mandate of the community college is just that this is a community college. It is to serve this community, not really, generally speaking, the state at large. I mean, there's a component to that equation that we do that. So James Tangeman told me 17 years ago, he said that the whole paradigm of college education is changing. This was when Phoenix University first came online. If you look at 17 years ago and what online education is today and how it's grown, I believe, if I'm answering this question the way I'm understanding it, I believe that we need to be concerned with what the future holds. And we need to be ahead of that. If I might go back to the commission meeting I had the other night, I was on the airport advisory board when we got a window of opportunity with 3 commissioners who were pilots. We got an aggressive young airport manager, and we recommended the city commission to build a tower. We built a tower. It was not without opposition. It was not without some consternation. But having said that, today employments have gone from, we struggle to get 10,000 and keep our federal money to keep the money, at the level that it was. Today they employ 26,000 people. At the time we made that decision, there were a lot of people that didn't think that was a good decision. Now, nobody voted against it. So, the mandate of the college is to serve the community first and foremost.
Thank you. Leonard.
Would you repeat the question?
I sure can. Explain your familiarity with and or the relationship to the college and its mission to serve the community.
Well, I looked up the mission statement that was on the website. It says, exists to produce positive contributors to the economy and social well-being of society. That's a pretty broad statement. I don't know that I can give you an answer to that right now. What was the first part of that question? Missions.
I'll just read it to you. Explain,
Please.
Explain your familiarity and or relationship to the college and its mission to serve the community.
I guess I'm not quite that familiar with it because I can't really give you an answer. I don't know. I know that I think the college should be there to meet the needs of the students, and the students be good students within this community. And those that aren't good students within this community need to be dealt with. That would be my answer to you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Terry?
The mission of the college as a community college is fairly broad for good reason, because people rely on our college not just as a place to send their young people to go to school, not just as a place to get some continuing education, but the college's role has expanded now to include economic development, business support, because who else is going to do it? We work with other public entities like the city and the county, because we all need to work together. And if the college has resources that can benefit economic development, we really want to do that. And that's why the mission statement is fairly broad. It says to make positive contributors to our economic and social well-being. So we don't just need people that can tune up your car or be a teacher for your children. We also need the college to promote good business practice in this community and good social well-being and entertainment. So we do wear a lot of hats, and it's a shifting target, and sometimes it's hard to articulate what that target is because it changes. But I think the people that live in this community can help articulate that, and they understand that the community college is a great resource.
Thank you. All right, well, this is, we're getting ready to ask our last prepared question. So I do want to remind the audience, if there's any questions you may have that you would like to see asked, feel free to grab a card, write it out, hand it, hold it up so you can come get it. And, because it looks like we're going to have some time to take some audience questions tonight. So with that, Leonard, this last question, we'll start with you. How would you respond to criticism of overspending by the board on the new dorms and athletic programs and facilities?
All right, now let's talk facilities first. If you went to the meeting, the board meeting, when they voted to build the new football stadium, and if the newspaper would have reported as they were there, I don't know whether it would or not. But I got up and I spoke against it. I didn't feel we needed a new football field. I felt like Memorial Stadium was a turnkey deal for the things they wanted to do. The track facilities were there, beautiful stadium. It needed a new turf, which was $1 million. 457 told me they'd put $400,000 into it. That means that we could have got a new turf field for $600,000. Could have built some dressing rooms on the west end of that facility for not an awful lot of money. I don't know what it would cost. I'm not a contractor or an architect. But I went to that meeting and I got up and I spoke against it. It was kind of redundant because the decision was already made. It was cut and dried. They were going to build it. So my response to that today is, we have it. Let's make the best of it. They didn't follow what I suggested. They were the board. It was their job to make the decision. So it was made. We got it. Let's make the best of it.
Okay, thank you. Jerry?
It's pretty hard to build any kind of a structure that costs more than $25 without somebody complaining about it. I come from a fiscally conservative background. My mother saved paper bags way after she needed to, and I got some of that. So building new facilities and spending millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars is kind of tough for me. And a lot of times in retrospect, I think, why did I not want to do that? It seems like now it was a smart thing to do. And I hope nobody thinks that we go into those kind of decisions lightly, because there's always a lot of thought and a lot of consideration going into it. Sometimes there's disagreement. but as a board, we do tend to support the final decision as a whole, which is important, I think. Student housing hasn't gotten much pushback because it was funded without asking the taxpayers for more money, which is the best way to do things. If we can find funding through creative financing, that's definitely the way to go. I think the new stadium is a great addition to our college facilities, and I think in the long run, everybody's going to see it as a smart choice. If it was free, it would have been even better. It wasn't an option at the time.
Thank you.
Well, like Terry said, now as far as the criticisms on overspending, I have to confess, I've had few, but they've been very few. And in response to that, I would say I don't really view that there has been overspending. If you look at the college has been very conservative in what it's done. In all honesty, I voted as a board member against the football stadium because there's sentimental value at Memorial Stadium, because of all the upgrades and updates that have been done to Memorial Stadium were done in my tenure in the school board. But I'm telling you, we have to look at the community as a whole. My concern was that Memorial Stadium would be underused. I don't know that it is or it isn't today. I would have to say it probably isn't being underused. If we look at not just the college and what the stadium does for, the football field and the track does for just the college. If we look at the walking track, if we look at, I think there's been some high school football games played there, some soccer games, it's a good asset for the community. In retrospect, I am one of those people who I wish could say, I didn't vote against it. I think it was, wiser heads prevailed in that. Again, we didn't go too far out of the capital outlay money on that. It's not a tremendous expense. I mean, when you talk about the operating budget of the college and you talk about the significance of a $2 million project, yes, that's a big project. We turfed the field Memorial Stadium 12 or 13 years ago and were just eviscerated for spending that money. And that was a community effort. The college supported it, the high school supported it, the rec commission, the YMCA supported it, the county commission provided equipment. I'm just saying, we can't look at it just at what it does for the college, but we need to look at it what it does for the community.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Terry, I'll direct this first question to you. There are discussions already underway regarding City Community College to join a Western Kansas community college system. Do you support this, or should Garden City Community College maintain what it has and stand alone? Why or why not?
I do not think we should join a community college coalition. Our college has really strong roots in this community. This is our priority. And I think we have a very strong financial base. Frankly, we don't need to join a coalition of colleges. What are the benefits to us? Probably fairly few. Maybe some resources, some technical resources, but the risks are high. The risks would certainly be financial collaboration, which I'm not in favor of. It's quite complicated when you collaborate with other entities, and who's going to be in charge? Everybody wants to have their own chief, and the chiefs don't want to step down so that another chief could be in charge. I think it's not going to work.
Well, I'm quite confident that every other college that's been asked that would like us to join in or like us to be a part of it, because we are in a desirable position. We're one of only 2 colleges in the state that have shown positive growth and significantly greater growth than the college that is behind us. We have good financial resources. We bring a lot to the table. Is it to our benefit to get in that? Absolutely not. I don't think so at all. And we don't want to give up local control. local, I don't know what that conglomeration would look like if it's done, but if you were to ask me, my question would be, what's in it for us? I've looked at that. I think there's honestly, I don't see anything in it for us. I see everybody benefiting from us being a part of that coalition and us being leveraged to help the other colleges out.
Thank you. Leonard?
First part of the question was there's discussion underway on this.
Yeah, apparently there are.
Would you repeat that, please?
Yes, the question says, there are discussions already underway for Garden City Community College to join the Western Kansas Community College system. Do you support this, or should Garden City Community College maintain what it has and stand alone? Why or why not?
I wasn't aware there was any discussion going on, but I can answer that real quick for you. I'm too damn independent to join somebody else, and I think Garden City Community College needs to stand on its own because we are Garden City Community College. I'm a bronc buster. That would be my answer.
Okay. Jeff, I'll direct this next question to you. Under policy governance, the college president is the board's only employee. All others are employees by the president. If there is a grievance by the facility or staff that is centered on the college administration, where do they take their case? At what point do you, as a trustee, intervene and get the problem handled?
Well, there's always an appeals process built into any educational institution like this. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I can say what the steps are, the personnel that you would go to, but it's not as though a grievance that is brought, that grievance eventually, if it goes through the appeals process, will wind up in front of the board. Now, as far as the policy governance, understand that even in the school district, when I served, the school board hires one person, and that is the superintendent. So that superintendent is in charge of all the personnel under him. So in that respect, I understand policy governance is different, but there are similarities there. So if I'm answering this the way I think you're asking it, it sounds like someone is saying there is no recourse, and I may be reading between the lines, there is no recourse for a grievance, which is not the case, and the board would intervene at the point in time that that grievance came before the board and had gone through the process.
I've been advised by faculty that they are told in meetings that they are not to talk to the trustees. If they can't talk to the trustees, where can they go? In the military, you have a request match. You can go over the head of your superior officer to his superior officer. But if they don't have an avenue to do that they're aware of, and they're told they can't talk to the trustees, where do they go? They need some way to go handle this problem. If I were elected to this board, I would be open to listening to anybody, because if they want to come talk to me, I'll talk to them. If it's a problem that needs to be resolved, I'll take it to the board. I won't try to handle it myself, but I'll at least get their problem out, and they can do it in confidence without fear of retaliation.
At the college, we do currently have policies in place. They're available on our website for both students, faculty, and staff for grievance process. And I certainly hope there's not a discouragement of anybody following those policies and procedures. But even if they feel discouraged, that wouldn't stop me if I had a problem. Board members are all accessible. I'd be glad to speak to anybody that wants to come and talk to me about an issue they have as a student or a faculty member. We don't discourage anybody from speaking to us. Sometimes people like to say they don't have anybody that they can talk to about their problem because they feel oppressed. They maybe haven't followed the guidelines that are already in place. If they haven't followed those guidelines, I have a little less sympathy for them. Because as adults in a working environment, everybody has availability to see those policies and utilize them. We do have a confidential system feel like you can't talk to your supervisor, we have a way to go past that. So those things are available. I'd be happy for anybody that wants to talk to me about an issue to come and talk to me. My phone number's in the phone book. I do talk to faculty and staff and students. Some of them have given me their complaints and their disagreements, and I'm happy to listen to those. Will I be the one to fix them? Nope, not unless you go through the process. But as a board, we have heard grievances by certain faculty members. It does happen on occasion, not very often, but it is a process that we utilize.
Okay. Next question, we'll start with you, Leonard. Should Garden City Community College have a 3 to 5 year plan to move the college forward? And if so, what should it be?
I don't know if they have a 3 to 5 year plan. If I were to be elected, that would be the first thing I would ask to see is what is our 3 or what is our 5 year plan? Again, it goes back to what I feel are items and issues that need to be studied by the board to, with the assistance or giving the assistance to the CEO of where we want this school to go. What do we want to be offering to the students in the future? What are we going to do to be able to offer those things? I would like to see somebody tell me what the 3 year plan is, what the 5 year plan is. I don't know. I don't know if we have one.
Sure.
The question asks, do we have a 3 to 5 year plan or should we have one? It's a little bit unclear as to what, a plan for what? A plan for our budget, a plan for facilities, a plan for programs. So I'm assuming the person is asking about maybe programs. Should we have a 3 to 5 year program, a plan? I think you have to have planning, but is it a certain fiscal or a certain number of years? Not necessarily. In policy governance, we look forward. We are always looking toward where do we want to go? Where should we be going? Because we have to tell our leader where we want you to go. We try to keep the guidelines fairly broad, because if we say in 5 years we want to have a mathematics program that is recognized by some accreditation body, well, then that's such a narrow focus that doesn't let our leader maneuver very much. If we just say we want all of our students to be ready to transfer to a baccalaureate program, then that gives a little bit more latitude. So we have those goals in place, and they're certainly available, on our website as far as looking at what are the ends, what do we want to get toward, and that's what we're always focusing on. Does it have a number of years? No. Does that bother me? Sometimes. Sometimes I would like to have a number of years. In 3 years, we're going to have a BSN nursing program. Well, but really in the end, is that the important thing? Because are we being responsive to our community? To me, that's the important thing.
Well, I'm sorry. Dwight Eisenhower, when he was a Supreme Allied Commander, had a general under him whose name was General Lutz. And before the Normandy invasion, Dwight Eisenhower's mantra was Lutz before the leap, because he understood the logistics of what was entailed with this. The thing that General Lutz said, the plan is nothing, the planning is everything. We are constantly planning ways to grow this college. We are working currently on facilities to better define the facilities needs. But understand, to echo what Terry says, we have to be fluid, and we have to be light on our feet, we have to be able to change, and we have to be able to change quick. So I echo that the plan honestly is nothing in terms of if you etch it in stone and say this is the way we're going to do it, you've made a big mistake. It's got to be in your, let's just say facilities, you have a facilities issue that may never get off the bottom. It may always be the third year of a 5-year, or the last thing on the third-year plan. It may always remain that way because you'll have an issue, an emergency, something that comes up. So we are planning constantly for ways to improve the college, for ways to improve the facilities. And I think that's the key there, is the planning rather than the plan.
Great, thank you very much. Terry, how do you want the community college to be perceived by people and businesses of Garden City and the surrounding communities?
I don't want it to be perceived. With high integrity, with consistency, with reliability. I want people to say, when they don't know the answer to a question, maybe somebody at the college can help us. If there's a business that says, oh my gosh, we need 10 people to turn these widgets, who are we going to get? Well, I bet the college could help us. I want us to be the resource. I want us to be a reliable resource, a consistent resource. I don't want parents to say, well, one of my kids took physics out there and didn't learn anything, and the next kid took it from a different instructor and they learned everything. I want us to be consistent and reliable. I want us to be the go-to people.
Well, how would I like people outside of the community to view the college? Certainly the issues we've talked about here today. I'd like, first of all, parents of students to be able to look at this and say it is a safe environment. I would like them to say, which it is. It is an economical environment. It is a desirable place for my son or daughter to go to school. It is a desirable place for my son or daughter to seek employment. It is relevant in the society in which we live. It is serving the needs of the community and the needs of the states at large. I would hope that we could be, as well as a stepping stone to advanced degrees, we could also be the final stop for those people who want vocational technical training or education, that respond to the needs of employers who come and say, I need electricians, I need welders, whatever I need. I would like to see it, and I'm going to be honest with you, I believe it is viewed that way.
Okay, thank you very much. Leonard, any question?
Well, obviously, I'd like to see us viewed with a positive impression. I go back to the times that I see other Syracuse schools are like that, coming in here and their buses are parked out in the parking lot. And those students have come here for some kind of a workshop or whatever it is they come for, but they'll be here for a day. I want those people to go home and say how impressed they were with what they saw at Garden City Community College. We have a High Plains Lake tournament come in here for all of those schools. They leave with a good impression of what goes on. When they are here, they're treated well, they're treated with respect. And when they go home, that's what I want them to tell their parents, how they perceived us as being respectful, and they had a positive impression of what Garden City Community College was.
Jeff, how do you measure success for the community college?
Well, I guess my question would be define success. I know that I'm not asking the questions here tonight. There are any number of ways and any number of things you can look at. If we look at the success of the community college, just some of the things that have taken place here, which is probably in my pickup. The community college in March 11th was recently recognized on the floor of the Kansas Senate and House of Representatives as selected by the Rural Community College Alliance as College of the Year. In 2014, we are named Aspen Institute, top 10% of community colleges in America for 2015. ranked 31st in the list of top community colleges in the nation by 50 best community colleges. CNN Money Magazine ranked Garden City Community College the top 24 as one of the top 24 community colleges in the nation. Military Advanced Education named Garden City Community College military friendly for 2014, and it is included in the 50 most affordable community colleges in America. Garden City Community College was ranked 13th by affordablecolleges.com. By that measure, and by those things that I just said, the college is successful. As far as if the business community can come, and they have, said we're very pleased with the skills that your graduates are bringing to the table as employers, and here's what we would like to see, perhaps teach more of the responsibility of the job. How do you teach? Show up on time. But the issue is there are any number of measures that you can look at and say that this community college has been very successful in the last 4 or 5 years.
Thank you.
That's kind of a nebulous question, but the way I would say that, answer that is hearing from the alumni the positive results that they had when they came here and the education they got, what they left here with. That's how I would view the success. And if a lot of them coming in and say it wasn't worth my time, then I would say we aren't successful, but I don't think that's the case. The way I would measure success is by the response that we get from the alumni on the experience they had while they were here.
I think there's a lot of measures for success. We have lots of statistics. We have lots of graphs. We have reports that we can reproduce in so many ways. You know, we're an accredited institution. We turn out high graduation rates in our nursing program. But really, I think for a community college, mostly our success is measured in personal stories. And everybody knows a neighbor or friend or a relative that says, yeah, I really didn't think I wanted to go to college, or I had a bad experience. You know, my brother had a bad experience at college, and I went out here and gosh, they were so good to me, and my instructors helped me, and I got a B in psychology. I thought I was going to flunk. They had tutors that helped me out, and I don't know if I'll give you an example of that, because when I was an adult learner going to nursing school, I took chemistry, and I thought, oh, I can do this. It's not going to be bad. And I figured out that I didn't know enough math. So I went to the library, to the tutors, and Sherry Perryman taught me some math that I apparently forgot from high school. And that's the only way I succeeded. So it's those personal interactions. It's those instructors, those staff people, those coaches, those bus drivers. There's all those people that make you successful, and you can't always measure that in a graph. You know, maybe you had to take developmental math twice, but somebody kept reminding you to come to class. You don't always get that at a four-year college. You don't always get that in an online class, but you get it here.
Okay. I think we have time for just a couple more questions. And then we'll wrap up. Leonard, I'll direct this one to you. Has the Board of Trustees told teachers and/or had teachers come to the board meetings to share their ideas or problems?
I didn't get that.
I'm sorry.
Please.
Has the Board of Trustees told teachers and/or had teachers come to board meetings to share their ideas or problems?
I'm not aware of it. Again, I'll go back to the point that I've been told by instructors that in meetings they've been told that they're not to talk to the trustees. And if they're not to talk to the trustees, then how do they go to the board meeting and share their problems if they're told you don't go talk to them? Is that the answer? That's the feeling. That is the feeling of many of the faculty on campus, that they have been told they are not to talk to the trustees.
Terry, same question.
I guess I'll reiterate what I already said, that we have not given anybody that impression that they shouldn't come to our meetings. We have an open part of the beginning of the meeting where anybody can sign the agenda to speak publicly. They do have a limit on how much time they can have. If people have ideas or questions or concerns, I'd be glad to hear from them. They can call me and talk to me on the phone. We have board email that people can send us email. No, it is not monitored by the administration. Yeah, we have accessibility. We live in a small town. If people want to talk to me, they can talk to me.
Well, I'm not aware that people have been, faculty have been told by anyone. I'm not aware that anyone has been told not to talk to the Board of Trustees. I've just not heard that. As far as if they have problems, I doubt very seriously that you're going to have an individual teacher, an individual with a problem, come and share that problem in a public forum. We have a faculty senate which presents at the meetings on a monthly basis, and the faculty senate represents the teachers in negotiations. So is there an avenue for that to happen? Certainly there is. I have faculty people, I'd say faculty people, I have friends on the faculty, I have people that talk to me. Not that we talk about issues that they've got with the college, but I think they feel free to do that, at least the people that I'm around. I haven't heard that. I'd like to know where that's coming from.
Okay. Well, at this time, I think we'll draw a close to the question portion of our forum tonight. With that, we're going to give each one of you the opportunity, 1 minute, to just give some closing statements. Terry, we'll start with you.
I don't have any formal closing statements. I just would like to say it's been a privilege to serve on the board the time I have been here. And I think it would be a great honor to continue to serve. I do want to be accessible and available to community members, whether they work at the college, whether they have interest in the college, whether they have questions. And, constructive feedback is helpful. It's pretty easy to criticize things. I've often been critical of public entities. When you're on the other side as a board member, you see the day-to-day challenges in running a big institution. And I think that our college is doing a great job. We're growing. We're a major employer in this community, and we need to be continuing to promote growth in our community. So that's a big focus. And I just appreciate another chance to do that.
Probably good we're wrapping up, because I personally heard my mother say about 5 minutes ago, I'm tired of questions. So, I don't know if you heard that or not. I am the great-grandson of Finney County homesteaders. 4 generations of my family currently reside in Finney County. My grandchildren mark the 6th generation who have made Garden City their home, Finney County their home. When I'm asked to make decisions in my public service, it is always with the thought that those decisions will affect not only me, but also my children who own businesses and homes, and my grandchildren who attend public school in Garden City and Holcomb. I want the best for all of us. There will be hard decisions to be made in the next couple of years, just as there have been in years past, and I am willing to participate in that decision-making process. I have carried a deep and unswerving conviction in all my years of public service that property owners bear a disproportionate burden of the responsibility in the taxation equation. I can see no scenario in the future in which I would vote for a property tax increase when asked to cast such a vote. And I have, in fairness, made this clear to the current as well as previous administrators with whom I have served. I believe the future is bright. There's no better time to serve than now, and I would appreciate your support on April the 7th. And if you're inclined to support me, I would echo the mantra of Chicago politics: vote early and vote often.
I'm here because I believe in Garden City Community College. If I didn't want to be on this board, I wouldn't have run for it. I think in some ways that the board may need to be a little more active and a little more involved. If I'm elected, I will be involved and I will ask questions when things come up. Apathy is probably the worst enemy for any institution. If people are not willing to go and ask questions and just go along with whatever happens, then they're going to get whatever happens. The board's elected by the taxpayer, or not the taxpayer, but the voters. I'm responsible to the voters. I'll be open to all of those people. If they want to come to me with an issue that they have, I will also be open to faculty and staff if they have an issue that they want to bring to me, even if they feel they may have reprisals. I'll be open to it. I will be there to serve them as well as the voters. If people feel they don't have anybody to listen to them, they're not going to come to you and talk to you. I'll be there. If they want to come to me, and I will make every effort to listen to them, but I will also be active in asking questions. And if I don't get the answers that I think I should be getting, or if I think I'm being hedged on the answers, I'll continue to ask questions until I get the answer that I think is the right answer.
All right. Thanks to each of you for coming tonight and being here. Again, I want to extend a special thank you to the sponsors for tonight, which is the Garden City Area Chamber of Commerce, the Garden City Telegram, and Downtown Vision, and of course to the City of Garden City for allowing us to use our facility now. So with that, we are complete.